Hi, it's Anne here, and today's video is part 2 of my inventory videos. I do this every year, as I said in part 1. I won't make this spiel too long. This part is all about like eye products, so eyebrows, mascaras, liners, and eyeshadow palettes. So again, I've been tracking my numbers for the last few years. Some of my numbers are going to be a little different this year because I did adjust some categories and adjust some things in some categories. But for the most part, it's as consistent as I can make it. Let's start off with an easy category. This is my eyeshadow primers. This I've definitely whittled down purposefully. I like to have a regular one on hand plus like a glitter glue on hand. This is the one that I am working on, the Too Faced glitter glue. And then this is my regular one, the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. And then I have this NYX one because I bought it as a backup for this when I finish it. I do want to try the Milani one. I want to try a drugstore one. I haven't tried a drugstore one since the CoverGirl one. So I'm hoping that, or not hoping, but I plan on buying a drugstore eyeshadow primer within the next year to test out, to again see how it compares to the Urban Decay, which for me is my tried and true. Here we are with my eyebrow products. So I do want to mention I will try and remember to kind of separate stuff that's new over here, but I pre-planned that in my face video. I forgot to do that before filming this, and we're already filming this. So if I can find, or if I notice stuff that's new, I will kind of separate it out. And then the remaining things are things that were in my inventory video last year. I've been really good with the brow products. They really spiked in 2022. I had 19 in total. We're now down to 13, and I'm trying to work through them, particularly trying to get through the eyebrow pencils, and then I did work through already a couple eyebrow gels. So I have 3 eyebrow pencils, 1 eyebrow pomade, which is the new item, this is like an eyebrow pen, this is like a tinted gel. This is on its last legs. I don't know if this will make it past this year. 1 eyebrow mascara. This is actually, this is new. If I could put it over on the other side. This should be over here. That's new. I just bought this, and I think I've only used it a couple of times. I haven't even mentioned it in any videos yet because I haven't done my buys and buys, but yeah, I just purchased that. This is a eyebrow thing from, well, you can see when I turn it there in the light, the Brow Gal eyebrow powders. I kind of hang on to these because they're fine. I like them and they work, so there's no need to rush and get rid of them. And then this Wet n Wild kit, there is two powders and then 1 wax. So I do combine that wax with the pomade, and then I have 5 brow powders. So in total, when I add up each individual pan and each individual item, I have 13 brow products, which for me is manageable because they're all quite different. I would love to finish these eyebrow pencils because I don't really like any of them. So that will be a happy day when these eyebrow pencils are done, and I can actually, again, I say this, I can actually, but I'm at the point where I kind of want to buy a new micro brow pencil, which again is different. None of these are micro brow pencils. That's why I don't really like them. And so, yeah, I think that's something that I'll be looking at buying within the next year is a micro eyebrow pencil. Now we're going to move on to eyeliners. I separate them out between my like gel and cream or liquid ones and then my pencil ones. So these are the potted or liquid eyeliners. Again, I think all of these are the ones that were in previous videos, and then these are the 2 new ones. So I have a Sephora Fine Line Felt Tip Liner, which I just recently purchased. And then this one is the NYX waterproof liner, Epic Ink Liner. I can't recall if this was in my video last year or not, but it's probably the next newest one. This one's a magnetic liner from Ardell. This is a L'Oreal liner that every time I talk about this liner, because it just irks me that online it said it was waterproof, but when I got it, it's not waterproof. This is the Kaja Wink stamp, but I do count each of these as a separate item. And then this little guy here from Color Workshop, one of those Color Workshop kits. And then these 3 are all colored liners. So I have one from the Color Workshop that's in brown, one from Pupa Milana that's in brown, and then the one from Pure Annata, which is like a purpley color. And then yeah, these are the 2 pot liners. One is Ardell, and that's a magnetic one. I think that one might be dead. I haven't tried it, so I should test that out and see if it's still good. If not, let it go. And then this is the Tarte pot liner, which is still good. I did recently use that, so that one is still good. So in total, I have 12 liquid or pot eyeliners. Next up, we have pencil eyeliners. This is a category I find when I compare to other people that do inventories that I have a lot more in general. I do have a lot of colors. I do like to play with liner. I don't go through them very fast, but it is one of my favorite categories to like, you know, mix up a look, but being very subtle. Like I might do like, you know, brown eyeshadow that's very like neutral, and then I might throw in like a blue eyeliner. So these are kind of organized by color. These are sort of random colors over here. And then we have blues, purples, grays, browns, and then black. So I only have 4 black, which is good. I was trying to like whittle this down. I'd like to have it to like 2 to 3 black at the most. Same with the brown. I do have a lot more brown because I've tried to sort of lift up the new one. So these 4, I believe, are the new ones. And you can see I added 3 browns, which is kind of unnecessary. It was a little bit more brown than I realized that I was adding. And then I did add this Too Faced Killer liner in Sapphire Killer, I think is the name. So a blue liner, but again, it's different from, you can see the other blues. It's much deeper than the other blues that I have. So I'm happy about that. So this category, I have 27 pencil liners that are not black, plus 4 liners that are black. So I believe that's 31. Is that 31? Did I do my math correctly? This category hasn't changed dramatically for me. It was 45 last year. It's now 43. So it's a little bit lower, but not a whole lot. Like I said, I don't go through liners very quickly, but I don't mind. I generally, I'll use like a black liner a year, and I might end up decluttering a liner because eventually some of them will just dry out, or I just decide I don't like the color all that much. Like I think I had a liner in here that I ended up moving to my lip liners because I just preferred it as like a lip liner color instead of an eyeliner. So yeah, 43 liners in total. I'm not mad about that. I'm not I would kind of want to max out at 50 on this. If I had more than 50, that's too many. I always say this every time I film this section. I just have to try and be conscious of when I'm adding a color or adding an eyeliner that it's different from what I have in terms of color. Like I'm still looking for a nice green. Like I have one green here, but it's more of a bluey green. I'd like a forest green, and I still haven't found one that I've wanted to purchase. But yeah. That's why I'm okay with this going up, because there's still other colors that I wouldn't mind having. And then again, if I'm trying a certain brand, I'm trying a specific brand's eyeliner, if it's like black or gray or brown, I don't mind that either. It doesn't bother me adding to this, but I do want to maybe like, got a few too many grays. I could whittle that down a little bit too. But yeah, overall not too bad, 43 in total. Okay, here we are with mascara. This is probably, just looking at my numbers here, this is the lowest count that I've ever had for mascara. Normally I do have a lot because I do like to do mascara testing, so I will have a lot over time. I do kind of use them a little bit more quickly than I would naturally if I probably use it, what I'm trying to say, I use it more quickly because I have a YouTube channel and I'm trying to cycle through testing them compared to what I would do naturally. Like if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I definitely hang on to some mascaras probably much longer. I mean, this guy, I've had this guy for a long time already because I don't use it very often, and it still works. It's still good. It's the Snapscara mascara from Maybelline in a blue color. So these 3 are my colored ones. This one's brand new. I haven't even opened it yet. It's the Essence Lash Without Limits. I bought it in brown to replace this ColourPop one. The ColourPop one's probably going to go soon. These ones in the middle, oh, it should be separated out here. These ones in the middle, sorry, that was the wrong way around. These are just my regular black mascaras. This one is new from Ione that I got from Nancy Jean. This one is a Merit one that's a tubing mascara, which replaces one that I already had. I have one waterproof mascara and then one mini. So they're kind of like separate categories, if that makes sense. So again, I wouldn't mind adding, like, because if I do want to test out some tubing mascaras. So this category might go up a little bit. Again, none of these are a favorite mascara other than the Tarte one. So I can see myself, by next year, these are all gone and I've got new ones. This guy's probably on its last legs as well. This is interesting that I don't have very many minis right now. And one thing that's I'm kind of leaving that open right now because I do know in the fall, there's always those mascara kits from Sephora that I'm thinking about maybe trying one of those. I've always said with mascara that I feel like drugstore mascara is generally better than high-end mascara. It's way more affordable, first of all, and I feel like it performs just as good or better. So I've not really found a high-end that I'm like tried and true, except for so far I do really like the Merit one, and I do like the Tarte one. So those are kind of the only two higher end mascaras that I know I really like. So in total I have 10 mascaras, and last year I had 17. So yeah, we peaked last year with a lot. I think that was due to, again, some mascara testing that I was doing. Okay, now we're into some more of the fun stuff. So now we're into eyeshadows. So again, I realized I think I've moved some stuff in categories on this, and it is what it is. The total numbers obviously will add up, but some categories are going to look a little higher or lower than they were in previous years because I moved things around. Particularly like the ColourPop Super Shocks. I don't know if I had those last year, but I have like these L'Oreal Infallibles. I don't know if I called them cream or liquid. Like, I don't know what I called them last year, but I've gotten rid of the cream category because it's a little confusing, and I've just called like anything that's like a single pot. It's like a single shadow, pressed single shadow that's not magnetic. So anyway, that's not even in this section right now. So we're in the section of stick eyeshadows and then liquid. These are all like liquidy, squeezy tubey kind of things. In the sort of stick version, the eye crayon ones, these ones are the ones that I've added. This category number though didn't really change a whole lot because I also got rid of the nude sticks ones. Last year I had 11. This year I have 10. It's kind of gone down, but also it went up because I added 5. I got rid of 4. Maybe I finished 1 too. I can't remember. But anyway, I got rid of 5 or 6. I'm trying to remember how many I got rid of. It doesn't really matter. I had 11 last year, and I now have 10. And then the cream ones, again, last year the liquid ones, I had 9. This year I have 8. I don't recall what I had in here before and why that number's changed, but this is the one that I did add. It's a Pixie one, which this was a little bit of a regret purchase. It was to replace the one, I do know I had to let go of the Essence one that I really loved, and then I bought this because I was like kind of missing that. I was like, you know what, that was kind of unnecessary. I really didn't need to do that. But we did it anyway. So I think this is the only new one that I've added. So I have the NYC NYX ones here. This one's a Milk Makeup Chalk Stick. I have 2 Laura Mercier Caviar sticks. These 2 Charlotte Tilbury ones that are pretty new to me still. I haven't really played with them a whole lot. I'm actually going to play with them right after filming because when I was pulling this all out, I was like, oh, I forgot about that. And I have 1 ColourPop one, 1 Kiko Milano one, so 1 Almay one, 1 Danessa Myricks, the 2 Kaja ones. This is like an Inmo brand. And a Tasha Denona one, this Appeal one from a BoxyCharm, and again the Pixie by Petra one. So I'm okay with this. I again kind of want to keep this category. I don't want to say too limited, but I gotta be careful because I don't use these a whole lot, so I don't want this category, these 2 areas, to get too out of control. Okay, this is where things get interesting and change up a bit because, like I said, these shadows, I think they were in maybe they were in a cream category, but I've kind of removed them from that because it was getting a bit confusing for me. So I did have 9 in the cream and 9 in pressed singles in total now, which that's 18. When I add all of these together, I now have 23, so that's definitely gone up. I think the new ones are the ColourPop ones. I don't think these were in my video last year, so the 4 ColourPop ones are definitely new, and then this Merit one is a new one. I have 3 L'Oreal Infallible ones, 2 Ace Beauty ones, this Stila Kitten one. These ones, so this one, Misha, has like 3 shades, so I do count this. I don't count it as a palette, but I do count the 3 separate colors because when I do use this, I don't really mix the colors together. I'll use it separately. And when I use this, I like rarely ever use this. Also, this one has 2 eyeshadows in it. So I count that as two eyeshadows. instead of just one. And then again, this one has 2 in it as well. So that's a double, but I don't include those in palettes because it's too small. I think at one point I did have these in with palettes, but not anymore. So that's also, again, kind of why things have shifted around here. And then these are my loose eyeshadows. Again, I'm very conscious of this category, not trying to add to it too much, but I did add one of the Give ones in Dazzle. This one I picked up at Winners or Marshalls. I kind of had to pick it up. I couldn't pass it up. So the loose ones, I've got 9, and that's down 1 from last year, and I'm guessing that's probably because of a declutter at this point. I highly doubt that I've actually finished one. That's why I talked about being conscious of. I just don't really like loose eyeshadows. They're not something I gravitate towards. I just find them too messy and kind of a pain in the butt, so I don't really use them. So when we go through those single eyeshadows and we exclude, so far we haven't talked about the ones in my magnetic palette. So all of those eyeshadows that I've just showed you, between the single potted ones, loose, cream and liquid, and well, not cream and liquid, I don't know, liquid, and the eyeshadow sticks, I have exactly 50. So that's really interesting. It's not too bad. Again, these are products I don't use a whole lot, so I've got to be careful not to add too much to this section. Okay, single eyeshadows. So a lot of my single eyeshadows look a little crazy because they've been depotted from eyeshadow palettes. So when I decide I don't want an eyeshadow palette anymore, but I want some of the shadows in it, I'll pull them out. Or if I've been panning an eyeshadow palette and there's some shades that I still think I can finish, I'll pull them out. So that's why some of these look pretty crazy. They all fit in these 3 palettes, but this one is actually a double-sided one. I do have 2. I have this palette, which is empty right now. There's nothing in that. And then I also have this little guy, which is empty. I've been kind of looking at this, and I am going to pull some of these shadows out and make a mini palette, because I think I can finish a few of these shadows that I'd like to put them in my project pan. Yeah, that's going to compete with my Pan That palette, but at this point, I feel like it's still doable. And I think I've accepted with my Pan That palette, I'm probably not going to finish any eyeshadows, but I should hit pan on at least 2. So yeah, I've got eyeshadows in here. This also has some face products, which I've already talked about in my face video. But yeah, these are almost all of these are pulled from another palette, except for I think this one. I've tried to keep things together that are like similar brand, but it didn't all fit. Like I really had to like Jenga some stuff together. So that's why it's a little ad hoc. But these are the 2 newest ones that I received from Fantasy Cosmetica. These are from Rimmel palettes and it's old Maybelline and I think Carly Bible. So those are all old shadows. These ones are all my Cleona shadows, I think. This one might be a ColourPop one. No, that's a Cleona one as well. So this one's a ColourPop. I don't know what that might be NYX actually. But these ones I know for sure are all Cleona ones. Again, a few from some palettes. That was a single from Avon that I hit pan on. And then this side, I do need to look at some of these and maybe whittle this down because there's a lot of similar shades, like duplicate shades that it's kind of like, I mean, these 2 right next to each other, pretty much the same shade. Let's just swatch them and see how close they are. One's a bit more pink than the other, but for the most part, yeah, they're like basically the same shade. So yeah, I've got to figure some of this out, maybe whittle this down, try and hit pan on one of these and then let it go. These ones are from palettes as well that I took them out. These ones are the ColourPop ones over here. So I don't have a lot of singles that I've purchased directly, but the singles have grown because I've taken them out of palettes. And you'll kind of see my palette numbers they're fairly stable, even though I've added palettes because I've taken away palettes, but then the singles grew because I pulled out shadows that I wanted to keep from those palettes. So in total, the single pressed magnetic shadows that I have is 87, which is up from 78 last year. But I mean, a few years ago, like in 2021, I had 41. So like I've doubled it, more than doubled. But my palette number has gone down. Well, I wouldn't say gone down, but I've removed palettes. And so that's why it's kind of like, I've got to figure out what I'm doing with some of these singles. Like I don't think I need to keep all of them, but some of them are useful. So yeah, I'm going to build a little palette here that I think I'm going to throw into my regular project pan. And I'm just going to treat each individual shadow like as an individual item. Also because that project is supposed to be 24 and 24, and I think that might help get me the goal of finishing 24 items if I count each shadow as one item. Because you can see some of these shadows I got a decent pan on, so I think I can finish some of them. I'll finish maybe 2 or 3. Maybe 2. Let's be not crazy. There's 2 that I'm looking at that I'm like, yeah, I think I can finish that. So in total of these magnetic ones, plus all the other ones I talked about, like these guys, so all of my single eyeshadows that are not within an existing palette, I have 137, which is up from last year. I had 126. Again, going back, if I go back to 2020, I had 70. So like pretty much almost doubled this category, which is quite a lot. But I feel like I can understand it. Like I've followed the path. It hasn't like gone out of control in a way that I'm like, how did that happen? If that makes sense. So those are the single shadows. Let's move on to the final and exciting part of this video, which is the palettes. So we're now on to eyeshadow palettes. In previous years, I broke this into 3 categories, small, medium, and large. I now have breaking it up into small, medium, large, and extra large, for lack of a better term. My small and medium categories are still the same. It's really the large that's broken up. Large used to be 12 pans or greater. I've now made large 12 to 15 pans. And then extra large is anything 16 pans or higher. So in the small category, last year I had 20. This year I had 16. I think that's mostly from decluttering. I know I like depotted some of these guys, so those moved over to like the single shadows. These ones, these 4 are the new ones. I don't think these ones were in my video last year, but these ones are all existing ones. So we've got the Too Faced Razzle Dazzle palette. This one's interesting because it looks like it's 7, such an odd number of shadows. And again, this one is interesting because it looks way bigger, but there's really only 6 shadows in it. This one kind of can mix or work as a face palette a little bit as well. I have 2 ColourPop ones. Take them out of the box here. The Tender Loving Cancer. I love this one. This is such a fun palette for summertime. Then we have this little Animal Crossing one. I actually just used this one the other day. A 5-Star Island one. I got this one in a mystery box. This one is like my tried and true travel one, but it's kind of been replaced by the Viseart ones, my Viseart shadows. So this one, I can't like bring myself to get rid of it though, because I do really like it, but maybe we need to work at, maybe that's like a pan, that was a candidate for like the Pan That palette for this year, because it was the fun size palettes. We've got the Urban Decay Basics one. This one is supposed to have 6 shadows, but I did finish one, so I only count 5 pans in this one, which is kind of nice that I did finish a shadow in this. But that was kind of my favorite shadow. It was a great base shadow. I have 2 Charlotte Tilbury quads, so this is the one that's in my project pan, the Dolce Vita, and then I've got Pillow Talk right here. I've got the e.l.f. Bite Size in Rose Water. Then I've got the I Me Multi-Cube, which again is in my project pan, which has that surprise blush in the bottom, which I've already counted as the blush. These are the new ones. This is the Wayne Goss. I think it's in Amber. So again, a large size palette, but large pans, which some of these also, other people have mentioned you could use these as face products too, so that's kind of good. Gwen Stefani, Give Beauty, I forget which this one, I think it's I'm Just a Girl is this one. And then I like to Mob It. This came from Ruth. Played with that a couple times. And then this LA Colors one that came from Nancy Jean. So those are all my palettes that have less than 8 eyeshadows in them. And they're the small eyeshadow category. Okay, here we are with the medium-sized palettes. Again, this category hasn't changed. It was palettes that have 8 to 11 eyeshadows in them. And again, this category has stayed pretty good. It's the one that actually went down the most, I think, again, through decluttering. Last year I had 19. This year I have 14. So again, kind of manageable for me, I feel like. And these are the 2 new ones that I added. So this one from By Terry. Again, I talked about this is a little bit, it's always hard to open too. little bit of a regret purchase. That's what that palette looks like. And then the other addition was the Rogue palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. Beautiful palette, really love that one. And then the remaining ones are all ones that I've had before. So the Going Coconuts palette from ColourPop. The Huda Beauty Nude Light palette, which has a broken shadow. So that's pretty much a pan. Again, maybe I should just pan that one. The CoverGirl True Naked palette, which I talked about, is a dupe to the e.l.f., I think it's Rose Gold palette, also the Rose Water. This technically would be in the larger category because there is 16 in here, but as you can see, I've depotted a few of them, and I've kind of kept this because there's some more in here that I would like to finish. I'd like to finish this top half. These are actually repressed. I've contemplated just pulling them out and then maybe getting rid of the rest of these because, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what we do with that guy. This guy's, you know, a favorite and not a favorite. Like, I want to love it more than I do, but I do like it. It's the, what do they call it? Pedal Metal Eyeshadow Palette. This is the I Heart Revolution palette. This one, again, kind of a regret purchase. Like, these are what I thought the colors were. So you look on the back. This looks kind of like a light pink. This looks like a deeper pink. Yeah, that's not at all what's in here. So I've kept this. This is one that I think I might just keep for the packaging, and figure out if I can maybe add a magnetic backing to it. The Viseart palette, sorry, I keep all my Viseart palettes in the box because the shade names are on the back. So that's the Viseart Petite Pro 2. Then I've got these 4 from the Color Workshop. Someday those will go, but we're hanging on to them. I've contemplated maybe throwing these in like a panning project, kind of see if I can hit pan on some shades and then say goodbye to these, but we'll see. And then this guy is one that I have decluttered, yet it comes back all the time. So again, this one will probably go in a future panning project. Again, it's one of those palettes, I want to like it more than I do. It just ends up being more warm toned than what it looks like in the pan, and that always throws me off. But there's a few shades in here that I could easily hit pan on potentially. I didn't say the name of it. It's called Be You Naturally from Tarte. It was in a BoxyCharm, I believe. So yeah, those are my medium palettes. Then we'll move on to the large palette, and this is where things change. The large category will be 12 to 15 eyeshadows, and then I have the extra large, which is anything that's 16 eyeshadows or more. Okay, I can't film the larger palettes in the same way that I did everything else because they just don't fit in this screen and this angle. Everything's a little awkward right now. My camera stand is on its last legs. I think I need to buy a new one. I think it's broken. It's definitely broken. I can probably get away with it for a little while longer if I don't film anything like overhead. But yeah, I need to buy a new camera stand. Anyway, you don't care about that. You care about palettes. So this is where things change up a little bit. I had everything that was 12 palettes or 12 pans. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. 12 pans or larger in a large palette category. I've split that into 2. So my previous number in total was 21 for those 2 categories. This is where things have definitely grown in my palette collection, which previous years when I've done this, I've talked about I don't really like large palettes. And in general, I don't really like large palettes, but there are some exceptions to that, and I'll get into those. I've never really been into those big Morphe kind of palettes. Or like palettes, I think it's like Beauty Bay has some large ones. I think they have a place, but just for my own personal preference and usage, I just don't use them. So again, I've kind of organized these. These are the older palettes, definitely older on this side. These ones are newer to me. And then these are the ones, I'm pretty sure all of them, I'm not 100% sure on this Viseart one, but pretty sure all of these are new on this side. So just to kind of go through the palettes here, we've got, again, I don't know where my camera is. We've got the Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Storm palette, the Kathleen Lights, you really can't read that, there we are, Morphe palette, the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette, the Too Faced White Peach palette, the Natasha Denona Retro palette, the Poppy Cosmetics Neon Drip palette, the Charlotte Tilbury Starry Eyes to Hypnotize palette, Natasha Denona Glam, Urban Decay Urban Spectrum, ColourPop Wild Nothing, ColourPop Rudolph palette, Carly Bible ABH palette, Viseart Cool Neutrals, Cool Matte, Viseart Neutral Matte, Viseart Paris Edit, and this LA Colors Nude palette. So again, this is a new category. In total, I have 16 large palettes, meaning palettes between 12 and 15 pans each. Now let's move on to the extra large category. Okay, again, this is kind of a new category, but old category. So I'm calling this the extra large palette. So anything that has 16 pans or higher. Again, last year, my large category, including the group that I just talked about, had 21. This grouping, just the extra large, is 17. I still don't know. I don't know how this happened, because I'm looking at what I've got and I'm like, did I really add that many? Because apparently I added 12. And I don't count 12. So I don't know what I did. I don't know how I had things grouped before. So I'm thinking maybe my medium went up to 12. I don't know what happened. But anyway, we now have 17 in this category. So we're kind of starting fresh. This is high for me. Honestly, I don't like how high this is. But I've talked about this before. I look at this grouping of palettes and there's very few here that I would declutter. If you forced my arm, there's 2 I can see that I would maybe say, okay, fine, those 2 can go. But after that, I don't know. Like it's pretty hard pressed to see what I could get rid of. So again, I've organized them. These are like existing palettes, and then the 4 on the end are the ones that are new. So let's just quickly go through all of these. We have the ColourPop Truly Madly Deeply palette, Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. We have the Violet Voss Flamingo palette. This is the Be Bella Shades of Roses. This is BH Cosmetics Zodiac. The Too Faced Natural Lust. Too Faced Gingerbread Extra Spicy. Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons, BH Romantic Nomad, BH Blueberry Muffin, BH Cosmetics Los Angeles, Pat McGrath, I think this is the Celestial Mothership palette. It's from 2022, I want to say. Too Faced Born This Way, The Natural Nudes. ColourPop Stone Cold Fox. Too Faced Better Than Chocolate. Odin's Eye Jewels and Gem. Huda Beauty Rose Quartz. So that is it. That is all my extra large palettes. So the total number of palettes I have is 63, which is up from last year, when I had 60. The year before I had 61. So that stayed fairly level in terms of total number of palettes. The fun thing though that I like to do is to add up all of these palettes, like the pans in them, plus all the single eyeshadows that I just talked about. So again, the number of shadows in palettes, or the number of singles that I had was 137, so that's gone way up. The number of shadows that are in these individual palettes, and again, I've added a lot on the large side, is 746. So in total, I have 883 eyeshadows. Holy crap. What is that? What's the math on that? I'll put that on the screen. I don't have, what is that? I have to use like 2.45 shadows a day to use every single shadow just once. Just once. It's not talking about panning or anything. Just once. Which is actually doable. Like, I think that's actually very doable. But that, like, obviously doesn't account for, like, panning or everything. So I'm definitely not using every shadow every year. And there's obviously eyeshadows that I don't really, you know, use very much at all or even care for. So, yeah, it's a lot. And that's gone up a lot over time. Like, in 2021, I had 684. And we're now at 883. So that's gone up by, like, 200 eyeshadows in 3 years. That's a lot. But again, I've talked about this. I feel really hard pressed to declutter any of these. Like, I like all of these. They all have a purpose for me. So there's very few that I can think of that I would straight up declutter the whole palette. That's how I have this challenge of like depotting, and I end up with more single shadows. So I've got to figure out a good balance for that, so I don't end up overwhelming myself with the single shadows, particularly the magnetic ones. So yeah, that is the end of part 2. Where's my camera? Where am I? I'm right here. I can't figure out where I am. Part 2 of my makeup inventory. That's the eye part. The remaining part is the lips part. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to film that, so I may just put up part 1 and part 2, and then part 3 will be forthcoming. Maybe not right after part 1 and part 2, because I got to get myself organized for that one, and I haven't even, my lip stuff is like all over the place right now. So it's going to take a little bit of work to try and bring some of that stuff together. But part 3 will be my lip collection. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. If you did, feel free to give it a little, again, where am I? Thumbs up, or a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.